Everyone. I'm Peter Sear. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Sear. I'm with New Haven Clean Cities Coalition. Today, we want to talk about CT's latest light duty incentive program. We are fortunate to have Paul.Wessel on the call too. He's the New Haven Clean Cities Coordinator and also a member of the CHEAPR Advisory Board. And we also have Walter from DEEP. He's with the Bureau of Air Management and an environmental analyst. So I'm going to give a quick overview on what CT Clean Cities Coalition is, a little bit about SB4 and some context as to why we're here today, and then I'm going to pass it over to Walter where he could talk more about the latest light duty incentive program. And then finally, we'll finish with a discussion, 20 minutes. Encourage you guys to participate. DEEP is looking for feedback from fleet managers, so your input is sought and welcomed. So Clean Cities Network is a DOE-funded program operating in 75 different cities. We work with fleets to help you get the resources and information you need to adopt cleaner vehicles. In Connecticut, we're fortunate to have 3 coalitions. Paul and myself are with the Greater New Haven Area Coalition, which services New Haven and the New London area. There's also Capital Clean Cities, with Craig Peters, and then Southwestern Area Clean Cities with Daphne Dixon. All of us work together to try to get you guys, fleet managers, the information you need and the right unbiased information. So we look to build partnerships. We want to form a coalition of fleets to work with the state and the relevant authorities and then get you unbiased information. I think there's a lot of, it's hard to suss out what's real, what's fake, especially with everything going on. So we just want to cut through all that and get you guys the information you need. And then as we move through this energy transition, there's going to be a lot of new innovations and information that comes out. So we want to share tools and best practices with you guys. So a little bit about Senate Bill 4. There's a lot in this bill, but for the purpose of this call, we want to talk about the light duty incentive program. So this passed in May. It establishes the CHEAPR board to advise DEEP on the state subsidy program and allocate funding to the CHEAPR board, right? So CHEAPR has done the consumer light vehicle tax credit already. You could get $7,500 write-off from the state if you buy a battery electric vehicle. They are administering the e-bike program as well, which has been wildly popular. And now we're moving to the phase where we're rolling out the light duty incentive program for private companies, municipalities, nonprofits, tribal entities as well. And later, they're going to administer the medium and heavy duty incentive program as well. A little bit as to why we're doing this. You hear a lot of different information, right? But the main points we just want to point out for Connecticut is the American Lung Association lists Connecticut as having some of the worst air quality in the nation. Fairfield County being particularly bad, receives an F grade from the American Lung Association in terms of air quality. It's partly because of proximity to New York, but also because the jet stream, right? But also because tailpipe emissions. It's a corridor for heavy duty vehicles, light duty vehicles to travel, right? Which make up 40% of greenhouse emissions. I would also just note that while you hear a lot from the industry, this bill has been incredibly popular with Connecticut people, right? So, the average person in Connecticut is vastly supportive of this bill. So while there are strong opposition as well, and there's a lot of challenges we need to work through, that's why we're here on this call, right? We want to work through that with you guys and talk to fleet managers. But with that, I will toss it over to Walter, and he could get started on cheaper fleets in the light duty program.
Slides look good, Pete. Walter.
Great, thank you for that. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Peter, for that introduction. My name is Walter Barozzi. Excuse me. And I work for, first of all, thank you for the invitation and looking forward to sharing all the great new developments to the CHEAPR program. My name is Walter Barozzi, and I work in the Bureau of Air Management's Mobile Sources Group as the lead staff member in the CHEAPR program. And today I'm going to discuss the upcoming expansion of, for those that don't know, the Connecticut Hydrogen and Electric Automobile Purchase Rebate Program. We shorten it to CHEAPR, and to include fleets within Connecticut, which we're calling CHEAPR fleets. And I'll also briefly just go through the program requirements, the design, and sort of the ongoing development of the program as it currently stands, and hopefully as it will be once we launch. Do we have any questions before I begin? And just a minor correction to what Peter was saying in the introduction, it's a rebate voucher program, or just collectively an incentive program, not a tax credit. I know it's a little bit confusing, but
Thank you for that correction.
Yeah, it's not a tax credit. We get that a lot. Okay, so first I'm going to be touching on what we have for EV registrations within Connecticut, followed by EV sales and just kind of a brief current overview of the CHEAPR program and its success. So as you can see, and if you'd attended the last CHEAPR board meeting not that long ago, this is very similar information. We just had a data pull from Connecticut DMV. We do receive that registration information from DMV biannually. So this information right here represents the period from January to June of this year. And as you can see, we're approaching just over 36,000 net registrations within the state of EVs. Again, that's net registration. So that's that includes some that might have left Connecticut or are no longer registered within Connecticut. Here is that, as you can see with this timeline, we're heading in the right direction. Overall registrations have been increasing, and we can see that over time. And this is, since CHEAPR began, you can see that we've pretty much had a really huge effect on the increase in registrations. And the registration information is actually available on our website. If you go to the CHEAPR website and the EV Connecticut web pages, that registration information is available there as well. Now, jumping into sales, so as one of the Section 177 states, Connecticut is approaching 10% in sales, in EV sales statewide, which again, it's another data point to show that we're heading in the right direction. EVs are really catching on, and the non-Section 177 states aren't seeing quite the leap. I don't have that figure here, but in the CHEAPR board meeting, we did present both of slides showing the Section 177 states, which follow the rules set by California, which also requires the inclusion of EVs as part of the improvement of overall air quality. Any questions so far in what I'm presenting? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Now, since the CHEAPR program began in 2015, it's evolved over time. It's had several different iterations, but CHEAPR has issued over $18 million for the purchase or lease of over 10,400 EVs, which include some of the most popular EVs in the market, particularly once the MSRP cap was raised from $42,000 dollars to $50,000. A lot of the most popular models available in the market were then pulled in, including the Tesla Model 3, several different versions of that, the Tesla Model Y, which with the volatility of Tesla MSRPs, that just last week dropped off the list of eligible vehicles, eligible new vehicles, but I'm sure it'll be back on, and many other, including the Toyota RAV4 Prime. I'm sure you've noticed many of these models as you're sort of making your way around the state. I'm seeing many more of them as I'm traveling back and forth. So they're not as uncommon as they once were. So next, I'm sort of transitioning to discuss the Cheaper Fleets program, and this is in its current state right now. There might be some changes as we go forward, but we're thinking right now is when we're laying down the framework for the program. So currently, the CHEAPR program provides a cash rebate at the point of sale for any Connecticut resident who purchases an eligible electric vehicle with an MSRP of $50,000 or less. And I might have skipped over this, but the EVs that are covered are battery electric, full plug-in battery electric, plug-in hybrid electric, and full fuel cell electric vehicles. So not that long ago, the regulation that created CHEAPR was amended. So that's Public Act 2225, which was discussed very short previously by Peter. And in that, one of the things that occurred was the budget for the CHEAPR program was stabilized. So there's a motor vehicle sales and fee sales. There's a fee on new motor vehicle sales, as well as registration renewals, and that a portion of that comes to the CHEAPR program to stabilize the budget. So PA Public Act 2225 required that we increase the MSRP cap to $50,000, that we include some enhancements to the low and moderate eligibility requirements, which we refer to as Rebate Plus, so Rebate Plus new and used, and then the creation of an e-bike program, as well as the expansion to include fleets within Connecticut. So fleets would include businesses, municipalities, nonprofits, and tribal entities that are Connecticut-based. Similar to the sort of the original CHEAPR program, we envision this being a post-purchase rebate. So the first, you first have to purchase the vehicle, and then you'll receive reimbursement. Only new EVs will be eligible, which again meet the 50K or below MSRP cap, and the rebate will be, the post-purchase rebate will be $22.50 for BEVs and $7.50 per PHEV. Non-government entities will be required to be in good standing. Connecticut calls that a certificate of legal existence, and the number of rebates per entity. So again, that's a business, Connecticut-based business, municipality, nonprofit, or tribal entity, will be 10 per year or 20 for the life of the program. And I'll get into a little bit greater detail about that in a little bit. But that would also be limited to each municipality, for example, would be a single, well, individual departments within a municipality would be considered a single entity. So we will have a pre-certification process. This is a new program, and BuyDeep will help us to gauge and prioritize the And so DEEP still is in the gathering phase for both what is the universe of fleets and how do fleet sales actually occur. So this is new to us, and we're trying to learn as we go. So moving on to program design. Again, the CHEAPR fleet program will be limited to applicants that are Connecticut-based. So that's a Connecticut-based private business, nonprofit, government municipality, or tribal entity. And with that, there'll be a fleet pre-certification, and applicants will first have to purchase or lease an eligible vehicle as identified on our CHEAPR webpage. That is updated from time to time as we receive information from manufacturers, OEMs. That applicant will first need to receive a valid Connecticut registration. So the vehicle does need to be registered within Connecticut from DMV, and then must submit follow up with a submission of an application to currently the Center for Sustainable Energy, CSE, which is the CHEAPR program administrator. Envision that we'll have a 1-year limit for the use of the. Can everyone still hear me? I think I might have dropped off.
I can hear you.
You're okay. You've been dropping in and out a little bit, but
apologies. Yeah, I just got a notice that said my internet was unstable. So hopefully that won't last. But rebate funds will be reserved upon submission of the application. But it'll be on a first come first serve basis. And throughout that certification process, you'll have probably a year to make those purchases. And again, we're going to be considering the individual departments within, say, a municipality, that's public works or particular school districts, as a single entity. So the rebate cap would affect that. Now, to touch on what the pre-certification process would be. So at the start of each year, DEEP would have an application period. This is very similar to other programs that we've run, such as DARA and VW. If you've gone through the EVSE or the diesel mitigation program, it's very similar in that sense. So post-purchase rebate, we'll certify, and then we'll move you on to the application process by CSE. There is a fleet prioritization that's going to occur during the pre-certification process. That doesn't preclude all Connecticut fleets from applying. We encourage fleets to apply. That's also going to help us determine how many fleets there are and determine, for budgetary reasons, how much we need to allocate in funds for the fleet portion of the CHEAPR program. So once applications come in, they'll be evaluated and prioritized by DEEP, as we're required to both consider whether the fleet applicant is within an environmental justice community or distressed municipality. We're going to consider the VMT, the vehicle miles traveled, of the average annual VMT for that fleet per vehicle, as well as what are the ages of the average ages of the vehicles that would be replaced. So those are all criteria that would help us prioritize the fleets that most need replacement, and will help us during the allocation process as well. And DEEP will be developing materials and forms and outreach and education materials as we go along. So this is sort of in a flowchart form, explaining sort of what the pre-certification and application process would be. So again, an interested fleet would send in a pre-certification application to DEEP. We would evaluate that, go through a prioritization process, and then we would, pass that on to CSC. The applicant would then purchase the vehicles and apply to CSC to receive their rebate funds using the already existing CSC CHEAPR application portal. So this is just an overview of where we are currently in the program development. The platform has already been developed. That's the application platform where fleet applicants would actually apply online, fill out the information, and then receive their payment, most likely through ACH. We're currently going through the dealer outreach and fleet ID phase, and then we're working our way towards program launch, which we envision in early 2024. As many of you might be aware, DEEP did hold a round one of EVSE, which is electric vehicle charging infrastructure program funding under the Volkswagen settlement, Volkswagen NOx mitigation program. That deadline did pass, which was September 30th of 2022, so just last fall, about the same time last year. With that, we had about $6 million that was awarded to install 213 dual port, 122 single port level 2 chargers, 14 dual head, and 12 single port DC fast charge chargers, and the applying entities included 12 government, 50 municipal, and 8 private projects. So we do envision some other EVSE funding. There are other opportunities out there, and we're seeing great interest, and we're still developing what next steps would be, but we do envision that there will be other funding opportunities coming down the pike. Okay. So that was actually the last slide of the material, and we can open things up for questions and comments at this time. Paul and Peter.
Great. Todd and Bill, just wanted to hear from you a little bit about how your municipalities go about purchasing fleet vehicles. And secondly, have you had any issues with the supply of electric vehicles if you've been trying to purchase them? I heard from New Haven yesterday that that's been an issue for them.
Hi, Paul. No, this is Todd from Summers. We have not purchased any electric vehicles as of yet. We're looking at it for possibly our pool vehicles, although happily most of our pool vehicles are fairly new, so we're not in a sweat to do it. So I'm just gathering information and seeing how all of this plays out for the future when we start looking at electric vehicles.
Yeah, hey, Paul, it's Bill here in Coventry. We were part of that the charger grant last fall, and we did get awarded. I think we're getting 9 charging stations installed. That's going to be happening real soon. They just reached out a couple of days ago, said they're going to be breaking ground on the first one in a few weeks. So that's exciting news there. But yeah, I've had that issue. I've been looking to buy an EV, but no one has any. And they're talking earliest middle spring next year, and probably later before they get to see any on the ground in this area.
What kind of vehicles have you been looking at? Bolts or?
I was looking at the Chevy Blazers coming out with a new one. And then also Chevy has a truck coming out that I was looking at. And again, none of those are anytime soon for us in this area. I did talk with the Ford salesman in the last week. He does have one Ford Lightning pickup truck on the way should be by the end of the year. But the downfall for this program, it's over the 50,000 threshold.
I was going to say, Bill, just last week, the Tesla Model Y dropped off the list, but the Ford Lightning went back on.
It did go
So
back on.
it did go back on. They
Okay.
reduced their price by something like $8,000.
Wow. Okay.
So it did drop back down onto that list.
Yeah.
That might
Because
change again,
I'm currently looking to replace my staff vehicle here. And it's just been a slow process because I've been kind of looking around. I don't want to jump on the first one I see. We're looking for either an SUV or the Ford Lightning or the new Chevy Silverado, something like that. But again, I'd like to see it and drive it before I make the decision, and it's hard to do that.
Any other thoughts about how deep could best structure this program to be helpful to municipalities and other fleets?
I had a question. This is Todd from Summers again. Looking at the requirements, it says that the vehicles will have to be registered in Connecticut. Typically, as we, like most municipalities, are issued license plates to the town. They're not specifically registered to any vehicles. They're just municipal plates. So my question is, receive a valid permanent Connecticut registration. We don't typically do that with our fleet. Would that be required, or is that just for anyone else other than a municipality?
So I think for municipalities, we did take that into consideration. So we just need to have a verifiable registration tied to the vehicle.
Okay, we could just tell you the plate that we're running on that vehicle like we do with DMV every year.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
And again, I think that's as long as it's done within 45 days, that'll be part of the application process that that you'd be submitting that documentation on the online portal. And you'd be able to track where you are and what you need to provide to CSC to then receive the funds.
Okay.
Walter, you said the pre-certification was valid for a year, I think?
That's how we're envisioning it, and that's actually in line with the current CHEAPR program. So individuals have a year to use their voucher. So we're thinking,
given the availability or shortage of EVs out there, and from what Bill and Todd are saying, you might want to think about maybe extending that.
Yeah, and how we've handled that with, say, the EVSE program is just we've been letting applicants know that we're going to be flexible with the timing.
Okay.
I think just having the structure there is important, but then also understanding, the market forces that currently exist. So we envision being, probably flexible and working with the applicants. So that's always important to have that communication while you're going through the process.
Sure. So with this new program, how soon are you going to be ready to start taking the applications?
Currently, we're envisioning early January of 2024. Now, one of the biggest lifts, which is the application portal, that's already been done. So currently, it'll be a lot of the administrative side on our side internally, and figuring out what materials we need to provide, what materials we need to create, and what information we need to gather.
Okay. Because like I was saying, I need to replace my staff vehicle soon, before it leaves me on the side of the road somewhere. But I was again leaning toward an EV. If I make a commitment sooner than you're open for the applications, but I haven't taken delivery yet, would I still be able to apply then once you're ready?
How we've treated that in the past is that you have to be going through the process, right? So if it's a post-purchase rebate, you have to have made the purchase within the program. If it's a point of sale, it's a little bit different in that sense. So I imagine the program has to exist first before you could actually be eligible for the program.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you can, probably I'd encourage you to wait until we announce program launch.
Okay.
Keep milking that vehicle, Bill.
Yeah, I'll try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've had on the consumer side, the individual side, non-fleet, people who have had to make a decision whether the federal tax credit was going to change between when we were going to be changing, say, the MSRP cap, and those are decisions that people have to make for themselves. Unfortunately, if someone was to purchase a vehicle and then try to get clawback, we don't necessarily look back unless it's for kind of extenuating circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, do you have any thoughts from the BP Pulse perspective? I don't know how active you've been in Connecticut. You may just be, there you go.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. I have a few thoughts. First of all, I'm Brian Ross from BP Pulse. We provide fleet charging solutions, both on the hardware side and infrastructure installment, and then on the software side, fleet managed charging software. And then we haven't been too active in Connecticut. We have been in discussions with some of the more, it's more on the heavy duty side, so school bus, transit bus side, where we've had some discussions with fleet operators. But we do serve light duty fleets as well. I think, this is, look, every incentive that's available is important in these early days. I think this could stack with the federal. I think I always forget the name of it, but 40C, or there's a vehicle credit that's available to municipalities also, right? That can be monetized. So, yeah, I mean, all that to say, I think it's just good to see Connecticut getting this program out. Only real question, and I think it's a bit tangential. In the beginning of the call, I think it was either you, Paul, or Walter, you said there was going to be a medium and heavy duty program as well. So, not to get ahead, but could you maybe talk through that, or do you see that launching in 2024 with like a similar structure, or even integrated into the like application platform that you've developed?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And, I see Pete here, so maybe we can touch on that. But to give you an overview, I can't get into great detail. It's something that's being worked towards at the regulatory side, first and foremost. So passing medium and heavy duty regs, getting those through. And then I think we do envision having an overall cheaper fleets that includes light duty, medium, heavy duty vehicles down the line. However, currently as CHEAPR exists, it's for light duty vehicles. So it's something we envision. It's not quite there yet. Pete, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you summed it up just perfectly, Walter. I mean, it's really it is something that like you said, we envision it, but it's all in our to-do list for sure. It's just
Pete, you're a little garbled. I don't know why. Try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, but Walter nailed it. I mean, it's definitely on our to-do list. It's just it is coming. It's just that we're still in the still have a few things like these efforts, like the fleets, for instance, getting that on track and on getting that going before we can really look at the the medium and heavy duty programs and incentives, and like Walter said, getting his regs through and everything. So, maybe 2024, but we're not, we haven't really had many specific internal discussions on that even in terms of the timing.
Yeah, there was a lot included in the legislation in 2022, and DEEP is doing its best to roll it out piecemeal. So, but we look forward to that. And Brian, we'll keep you up to date on that.
Great, thanks. Yeah, totally understood. Yep.
Any other comments or thoughts or suggestions? We're going to continue to get the word out about the program's rollout, seek other comments and suggestions. We'll be posting this on our website and shooting out another email. We had a bunch more folks who had registered but couldn't make it, which is par for the course for Zoom webinars these days. But this was great. We appreciate DEEP for working with us on this, and the people who showed today and the input. Peter, you had a final slide for us to talk about some other events.
We have a couple, if you guys want to try some vehicles out, like I think Bill was saying, on October 2nd, there is hold on, let me just share it. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, you're in edit view. There you go.
Yeah, so on October 2nd, there's a Alt Wheels Fleet Day in Norwood, Massachusetts. That's a ride and drive event. So you'll be able to try out some of the newest vehicles on the market. If you're closer to New York, there's a 2023 Empire Clean Vehicle Festival, Thursday, October 5th in Union Square. I don't believe there's a ride and drive component to that one, but you'll be able to see some of the vehicles. And then lastly, at the Connecticut Convention Center, October 19th and the 21st is the CT Energy Expo, which should be a great event as well. So if you're interested, those three events are coming up where you could sort of see the latest technologies and get your hands on some of the actual vehicles that are out there right now.
And we'll send out some information about those in a follow-up to today's call.
Yep.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Walter and Pete, for your input. And
yep. Thanks,
we'll
everyone.
talk to y'all soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for having me. And please feel free to email me, Walter, first name .Barozi, BAROZI at ct.gov. If you have any questions or comments on this, and that come up later, and you want to shoot those our way, because we're really in the gathering information stage right now. I'd encourage you guys to attend the CHEAPR board meeting that's going to be in December, I believe.
We can send out information about that as well.
Yeah, because I imagine we'll have a few more things fleshed out at that time, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more concrete dates for launch.
Great. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the day.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Guys.